Very good. Welcome to the Port Hueneme Water Agency regular meeting. Today is June 20th, 2022. The time is now 4 p.m. and I would like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the provisions of Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision E, and the recommendation of the Ventura County Health Officer issued September 21st, 2021, following social distancing recommendations. If the clerk could please take roll.
Member Bouchard.
Here.
Member Perez. Member Perez.
Hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now. Thank you.
Here. Thank you.
Member Rollins. He is absent for the record. Ex officio member Jacobson. Absent for the record. Vice Chair Hernandez.
Here.
And Chair Dudley.
Here. We will now hear any general public comments not pertaining to items on the agenda, including those written comments received by our clerk. Any comments from those who are participating live with us this evening, we'd like to ask that you use Zoom's raise your hand feature so we can call on you during the appropriate comment times. This will be the same process for comments pertaining to each agenda item as well. Staff will unmute your mic and you will have 3 minutes to provide comments. Does anyone have any public comments for tonight's meeting? And Madam Clerk, did we receive any written comments for tonight's meeting?
We have not.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. For the agenda approval for the water agency, may I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Wonderful. Madam Clerk, will you please take a roll call vote?
Member Bouchard.
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez.
Yes.
Member Perez.
Yes.
Member Rollins.
Yes. Yes.
And Chair Dudley.
Yes. So on tonight's agenda, we have one presentation from Director Villafana regarding our water tank inspection. At this time, I'll yield the floor to Mr. Villafana.
All right, if we could have share the screen here.
All yours, Don.
Okay. All right, okay. This is Port Hueneme Water Agency. It's a 600,000 gallon tank, and this is a summary of the inspection report. On March 17th, 2022, CSI Services concluded a maintenance inspection of the 600,000 gallon tank located at Perkins Road. Avila Structural Engineering previously recommended confirming the existence of seismic bracing due to conflicting reports. This inspection confirmed their existence. The inspection determined that the seismic braces exhibited some corrosion, including pitting and metal loss. And you can see the seismic bracing in the picture. Following a previous seismic inspection by Avila Structural Engineering, determined that the flexible couplings do not have the necessary range of movement to avoid failure during an earthquake and need to be upgraded to meet current standards. CSI, in conclusion, CSI Services found the overall condition of the tank to be in fair condition, with some exceptions. The interior coating of the tank was found to be in fair to poor condition. The recommendation is to place the tank back into a 3-year maintenance inspection cycle with a probability of realigning within 3 years. And we will be coming back to the board at a future meeting to address the specific deficiencies listed in both the Avila Structural Engineering and CSI Services reports. Are there any questions?
Do any board members have questions for Director Villafana? Member Hernandez?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Villafana, for your report. Anticipating that there might have to be some fixes to the water tank, the lining of the water tank, what do you expect that might cost? And are we setting funds aside in order to address that potential?
I don't have an estimated cost yet. That is something that we're going to have to look at. We're probably going to have to look at realigning in about 2 to 3 years. One of the things that I want to make sure is that we will be able to run on United Water and not have to go exclusively on Cayugas Water, which would be very high dollars. So there's some additional preparation I have to do before this happens. I will come back with probably later this year in the fall with some preliminary estimates. And we do have, and in the budget presentation, we do have over $450,000 in PHWA reserves, so for unanticipated expenses. So that is there. In addition, we would program this into the budget for the upcoming year.
Okay. And there were no other issues other than the lining found in the inspection?
Well, there's you have the couplings that the Avila engineering report, that is something that has to be addressed, the flexible couplings. I'm going to have to go out to design on that with a structural engineer that specializes in water tanks. We also have, when they do the realigning, there's some work cleaning of the seismic roof struts that will have to also be simultaneously done. Those are the things. I don't have a firm cost on yet on those, but those are the things that I will be coming back to the board on probably the latter part of this year and give a timeline for those.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Villafana. We appreciate it.
Director Villafana, when was the last time that we lined that, redid the coating on the tank? And is it currently in any of our CIP long-range plans for the next time we're supposed to be doing this?
I'd have to research that. I think it was done. I've been here 5.5 years. It was not done in the last 5.5 years. So probably about eight or 9 years ago. And it is, the recommendation is to realign it in the next 3 years. So that would be putting out about approximately 12 years, from the last time it was done, probably 12 years between the linings.
Thank you. Member Perez, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just would like to reiterate to Director Villafana. I know I've said this in other areas, to please check out the infrastructure grants. And if you need any help with that, I've received a list from our state and federal officials about what grants that are available, and there are plenty for water infrastructure.
I would appreciate you sending that to me, and we will certainly run those down and see what we can get.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll get those over to you.
Member Bouchard?
Yeah, I was curious if we as board members could get an opportunity to see the engineering reports or the report that came out of these inspections. And then I guess along the lines of Director Perez, if it's not worth us evaluating, given that there's maybe multiple recommendations that need to be done, and packaging this into a single bid item rather than, while I know there are different modalities, and one being a liner, one being structural engineering, but perhaps some cost savings and perhaps the opportunity to place it into a bid package if we combine the projects and the outcome. So one would be a request to see the responses from the inspection that was done, and the other would be for us to evaluate whether or not it doesn't make some sense to package the entire program into a single bid item for grant opportunity.
Member Bouchard, the reports are a little voluminous. I don't know if I can email them, but we could do is we could create a Dropbox and the board could do that. I can attempt to email them. Possibly I can zip them and email them in the next day or two to all the board members. And if that doesn't work, we'll create a Dropbox where you can go to, and we'll provide you with a link so that you can view the reports. Both the Avila engineering report is small enough where I could email that, but the CSI report is more voluminous with multiple photographs. I'm not sure that will be able to be emailed, but I will see what I can do, but I will certainly make those available to you later this week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Do we have any other questions for Mr. Villafana before we move on? Seeing none. Mr. Villafana, can you stop sharing screen so we can go back to full screen mode, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda for tonight. I will read the titles and items of the consent calendar prior to the motion. First item we have is to approve the minutes of the Water Agency regular meeting of April 18th, 2022. And the second item is to receive and file the cash disbursement report for April 12th through June 13th, 2022. Do I have a motion for an approval of the consent item?
Move to approve.
A second?
I would second, but I was going to wait. I thought I heard two people move to approve. I figured maybe one of them would jump in.
I wasn't sure who he got first.
I'll second or move to approve, whichever one you please.
Thank you. So we have
I think we just lost the chair.
Okay, I was going to ask if that was just me.
Oh, there he is. I think he's back.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I keep getting a weak internet connection warning on my screen, so I apologize. But may I have a motion? And we have the motion by Chair Rollins and the second by Member Perez. Madam Clerk, will you take roll call vote, please?
Member Rollins? Member Rollins?
Yes.
Member Perez?
Yes.
Member Bouchard?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez?
Yes.
Chair Debtley?
Yes.
And Jacobson is absent. Motion approved.
Great, thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda tonight is the Brackish Water Reclamation Demonstration Facility Operational Report. Director Villafana, will you be presenting that tonight?
Yes, I will. Again, good afternoon, Chair Debtley and board. This is the operational report for both the months of April and May. For the month of April, the plant operated the full month. The water demand in April was 3.25 million gallons per day. Last April, the demand was 3.22 million gallons per day. And this year in April, approximately 85% of our water demand was supplied by United and 15% by Cayugas. For the month of May, the plant again was operational the full month, which meant that the SDIs, the silt density indexes, were below the threshold, below 3, so we could operate our membranes. The demand for this month, for this May, was 3.2 million gallons per day. In May of 2021, the demand was 3.4 million gallons per day. This past May, United Water supplied 79% of our water needs and Cayugas supplied 21%. As of current year usage from United, we've used 1,278 acre feet, and that's 35% of our annual allocation. So we're well under what we are allocated from United for this year. With respect to Cayugas, we've only used 367 acre feet, or approximately 25% of our allocation of state water. So our usage is well within our allocation. And in addition, as you are aware from the Beach District and all the local agencies have implemented at least a level 2 water supply shortage. We have implemented a number of, the city has implemented a number of water conservation measures, as well as the Beach District. And I'm continuing to work with other agencies to see what they're doing. And tomorrow I'll be attending a meeting at United Water where they're going to further discuss water supply issues. Are there any questions on the brackish water ops report?
I have a question, Director Villafana. I had a question about the drought implementation. I assume we have a way of gauging that, and has it been effective? I know it hasn't been too long since we started, but have we noticed any change or any lower of our usage because of that?
We are trying to track that. You know, the city did adjust all our sprinklers at the parks to only come on Wednesday and Saturday nights. And we're doing, continued educational and warning outreach to the various HOAs to remind them to please come into compliance. And I am working with the city attorney to look at the ordinance and additional methods of enforcement on that. So, but we are tracking it, and I should be able to come back with water usage information in July.
Okay, thank you.
Member Rollins, you have a question as well?
Yes. Mr. Villafano, I know we're reducing down to Wednesday and Saturdays to watering the city facilities. What would the normal be?
4 days, 4 days a week of watering.
Okay.
Great. Director Villafana, I have one question. Do you foresee us needing to bypass treatment as we go deeper into drought, similar to when the silt density index is too high to treat? We just, we don't run it through the plant. Do you see that as an option to conserve water and a need to do that in sometime in the future?
That is a possibility. For every the brine discharge is approximately 18 to 20%. So for example, if we ran 100 acre feet of water through our plant, we would discharge in brine approximately 20 acre feet. So there is some potential savings. And of course, the previous drought cycle, the plant did not operate for over a year because the silt density indexes were over 3. And what that meant was that United was drawing from the deeper well field, which had a higher iron and manganese content, and the silt density indexes exceeded 3. Now they are in the process of working on their iron and manganese removal. So when that happens, when that is completed, that would help us in a drought as far as being able to continue to draw from the lower aquifer and not have issues with our plant. However, yes, if we were to shut the plant down, we would save water. However, the quality of the water to our customers would go down. You would have hard water, and but yes, there would be an overall savings in the amount of water.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions for Director Villafana? Not seeing any hands raised. Are there any public comments regarding this item on tonight's agenda?
I have not received any public comments.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see.
I'll motion to approve if that's what you need.
Second.
Who was the second?
Mr. Press. Sorry, you cut out. You cut out again, I think.
Can you hear me?
So I made the motion and Member Perez made the second.
So if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to turn my video off to increase so I'm not using too much bandwidth.
Okay.
I apologize for that, but I'm going to do that.
That's okay. My computer, I have the same problem sometimes.
Great, thank you. So, okay, we have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll call vote?
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
Member Perez,
Yes.
Member Bouchard,
Yes.
Member Rollins,
Yes.
and Chair Deputy.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the next item on tonight's agenda. It's the agreement for legal services with Hollister and Brace. And Director Villafana, I will hand it off to you again.
Yes, this is a recommendation to approve the professional service agreement with Hollister and Brace for a not to exceed amount of $50,000. And this was brought before the board in March, but it was asked that the city approve a conflict of interest waiver, which was done. Mr. Spalding handled that matter. So this is being brought back in front of the PHWA board. And there's over the past 5 years, there's been quite a bit of issues on groundwater sustainability. It's very involved, and there's been pending litigation. There's active litigation, and Mr. Candy and Hollister and Bryce have, are very well versed in all the issues. So it makes very good sense to have somebody with that expertise representing PHWA. So we're asking that the board approve this. And I believe Mr. Candy is on this conference or on this meeting too, so he would be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Yep, I'm here, board members. If anybody has any questions, happy to address them.
Great, thank you, Mr. Candy and Director Villafana. Are there any questions from any board members at this time? No. Not seeing any hands raised. Are there any public comments regarding this item?
I have not received any public comments.
Okay, great, thank you. Does the board have any comments? Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Member Bouchard and a second by Mr. Rollins. Madam Clerk, will you please take roll?
Member Bouchard,
Yes.
Member Rollins,
Yes.
Member Perez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Deputy.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Great, thank you. Item number 6 on tonight's agenda is the PHWA operating budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Will staff please present the report?
All right. Again, good afternoon. What we have traditionally done is, you have the packet, but we've always presented a PowerPoint presentation to go over the the budget. And I'd like to start by saying that this was a collaborative effort. And I want to thank Pete Martinez with the Beach District, Mike Oakley with VIA Consulting, and Avelia Hernandez, our administrative specialist 3. Starting first with the reserve balance, our current PHWA reserve balance as of 6/1/22 was $608,969. We have set aside $172,269 for membrane replacement, which leaves a reserve balance for unanticipated expenses of $436,700. And every year we add an additional $50,000 to this. So you can see the footnote that $50,000 will be added to the budget to fund an additional $50,000 will be added for unanticipated expenses, and that'll be added to that 608. Excellent. The proposed budget includes the following maintenance projects that were identified in the PHWA Master Plan Condition Assessment Report. You had the water treatment plant SCADA replacement project, and that's supervisory control and data acquisition, commonly referred to as SCADA. System upgrade is almost complete. There's some ongoing testing of all the controls, and some changes to the reporting system are still needed. The original estimate for this project was $80,000. However, Macro Automatics was awarded a contract for just under $70,000. Water treatment plant arc flash study was one of the recommended capital projects. The hazard assessment, the estimated cost was $40,000. Lucci and Associates Electrical Engineers were awarded a contract for a cost of $45,000, and this project is now complete. Water tank seismic analysis was one of the recommendations from the Gantt report. The estimated cost was $70,000. Avila Structural Engineering provided the report for $8,000, and as I previously noted in the earlier presentation, identified a number of deficiencies that will need to be addressed. A water treatment plant control upgrade the existing controls, the programmable logical controller, commonly referred to as PLC, power supplies, communication cards, input, output cards to current technology. Most of the equipment is no longer supported by the manufacturer. This was way out of date, and this is being updated. The total project cost was estimated at $85,000, and we've divided it into 2 budget years. For budget year 2021/2022, the budget is $42,500. The proposed budget includes a number of capital projects that have been approved and implemented by United Water Conservation District, for which PHWA is responsible for their prorated share of the cost of the Oxnard-Hueneme Pipeline Fund. The current fiscal year rate structure includes funding for these capital projects. Oxnard-Hueneme Pipeline, commonly referred to as the OH Pipeline. This pipeline was constructed by United Water Conservation District to provide service to the following agencies' district customers: City of Oxnard, Port Hueneme Water Agency, Dempsey Road Mutual Water Company, and a number of smaller mutuals. United Water Conservation District Oxnard-Hueneme Pipeline Fund. The fund is used to account for the resources and costs of operating and maintaining the Oxnard-Hueneme Pipeline. The district delivers potable water via the groundwater treatment to Oxnard-Hueneme area. The pipeline delivers water for municipal, industrial, and agricultural uses. Resources for the costs of managing and maintaining the Oxnard-Hueneme Pipeline are derived from the customers who directly benefit from the delivery of the water. The expenditure of the fund shall be based on a common benefit or sole benefit invoiced accordingly to those customers. The OH Pipeline customers assign capacity. The City of Oxnard takes slightly over 50%, and the Port Hueneme Water Agency, we take just over 42%, and you can see that the other smaller mutuals make up the difference. The OH Pipeline customers, fixed well replacement charge. there's a number of wells that are being replaced. United Water has a schedule where these are being replaced. And so the Port Hueneme Water Agency, our pro rata share for replacement of the wells is approximately $3,796 a month. That is what our share of that is. United Water Conservation CIP project summary. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mr. Pete Martinez, who will be covering the projects that United Water is going to be doing, and also Callegas.
Good
Pete,
afternoon.
are you there?
Yes. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, board. Yeah, like Don mentioned, I'm going to go over some of the capital improvement projects from United, and then talk through rates, both United rates and the rates from Callegas. So this slide here, I won't go into detail because I have a little more detail on future slides, but as you can see, this fiscal year, it's just under 1.4 million in capital projects that United has planned. And PHWA's responsibility is just over 42%, which equals about $583,976. Next slide. So here's how the rates are put together on the United side. So the monthly cost on the fixed side is $83,000 and change, and the variable side is $520.16 per acre foot. And so these are, as you all are aware, there's two parts that make up the rate. So these are the fixed and variable cost on the United side. Next slide. So the first project, this is the larger of them, is the iron and manganese treatment project. So that is located in the Orillo well field, and that's designed to remove the dissolved iron and manganese in the lower wells. So this is especially beneficial during the drought conditions like what we're experiencing now. So this will reduce, you hear oftentimes in Don's operation report, the cell density index. This will definitely help keep that plant, running continuously by keeping that below the 3.0 mark. Yeah, next slide. So the overall cost of this project is just over 12.5 million. And we want to give credit to United Water because they've actively been pursuing grants. They actually have there's one not listed here. They recently received a grant from the Department of Defense in the amount of 4.2 million. So along with the Department of Water Resources grant of 2.5 million, and then 300,000 from the Bureau of Reclamation. So, what that means is that's just lower rates that we will have to pay in the future. So, we're very, very happy to report on that. And that is actually over 50% of the total project cost. This fiscal year, we'll be responsible, the project, they are allocating 1.2 million to it. Next slide. The well replacement project. So this is a preventative maintenance program where United has decided to replace the upper aquifer system wells. So this happens, their goal is to replace one well every 3 to 5 years until all of the 7 original wells have been replaced. Next slide. The total project cost for this is just over 1.6 million, where the PHWA share this fiscal year is just over $11,000. Next slide. Next on the project list is the computerized maintenance management system. So this is an asset management system that United has recently purchased. So the last fiscal year, it was the design phase. This year, they've now purchased the hardware and software for this project. Next slide. The cost for this project total is just under 300,000. And this year, PHWA will be on the hook for just under 7,000. Next slide. The last project is the computer server replacement. So this, their goal is to replace all the servers at the Oxnard headquarters and the servers, their SCADA servers at the Orillo office. Next slide. Total cost for this project is $372,000, where PHWA this year will be responsible for $36,739. Next slide. This is the last project. This one's new. This is a SCADA continuous threat detection system project, and this threat detection system tool is specifically designed for the SCADA system environment, which has been a topic of discussion lately, especially by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, among other agencies. Next slide. This total project cost is estimated at $100,000, and we're responsible for $19,234. And so that was the United projects. Now we jump into the other. This is the State Water project. This is Callegas. So the fixed costs are $13,810, and the variable, with an increase of 3%, is going from $1,489 to $1,534 per acre foot. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Don to finish up the presentation with the PHWA plan operations.
Thank you, Pete. Next slide, please. All right, this is next slide. Go back. No, keep going forward. Okay, the PHWA water plant operations. For fiscal year 20/21, our total personnel cost was $435,890, and for fiscal year 21/22, our cost is $595,313. The increase is due because we were able to finally fill our electronic instrumentation technician positions and also another water operator position, which was vacant. Our total O&M for fiscal year 20/21 was $1,298,261, and for fiscal year 21/22, $1,045,855. The reason it's lower is because in fiscal year 20/21, we had that 18-inch water line main break, which happened in July of 2020. 2020. So that's why the cost was higher in fiscal year 20/21. And that's why it's lower this year. The grand total is for this year, 21/22, $1,641,168. It's a decrease of 5.7. All right, total cost, PHWA total cost to member agencies. The total fixed cost per month is for fiscal year 20/21, $221,497, and this year 21/22, it's $228,488. So we're looking at an increase of 3.2%. The PHWA variable cost per acre foot was in fiscal year 20/21, $755.24. For fiscal year 21/22 is $811.97, an increase of 7.5%. And the current rates that we are charging cover what Mr. Martinez and I have covered. So there's no rate increase to our customers for this year. And that concludes our budget presentation. If you have any questions for Mr. Martinez or myself.
Chair Dudley, I have a question and comment.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm having technical difficulties over here with my Wi-Fi. So Member Hernandez, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. Thank you, Mr. Villafana, Mr. Martinez, and I forgot who the third party was that helped put this budget together. I'm happy to see we're in the black and that we don't have to increase rates. So very good work. I did have a question on the billing adjustment revenue, the true up. Why does that happen, and is this common?
I'll take that. Yes.
Thank you.
At the end of the year, the true up, we look at the actual cost of water, and if we've taken more water or if there's been any additional expenses, that's when it's done. And that's been a traditional true up at the end of the year. And Pete, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would just, yeah, that's correct. And a big deal has to do with the amount of take of, how much of state water we took versus United, because there's such a difference in price. So at the end of the year, they take a look at that, and then that'll be a large part of the true up most often.
Okay. Well, thank you again.
I had one question.
Member Rollins?
Yes, I know a couple of years ago, there was a fairly elaborate water study as far as the rates. And I'm assuming the formula has held strong that we don't have to raise rates. Are we over or under estimating the revenue that was received by that rate formula? And will that be sustainable as we move forward, or next year or the year after, are we going to have to redo the rates?
Well, I'll take the first part of that. The rate study, you may remember, that was for the city of Port Hueneme. That was not for the Port Hueneme Water Agency. Mr. Martinez and I have discussed about the possibility of doing a rate study for the agency. And Pete, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would just say, I think Member Rollins was talking maybe more on the city side, right? When you guys went through the whole rate study last year or the year before. Is that correct?
That's correct. So that's totally independent then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any more questions from board members? Seeing none, are there any public comments regarding this item tonight?
There are no public comments.
Great, thank you. Does the board have any other comments that they'd like to add? Hearing none, the recommendation for tonight is it's recommended the PHWA board review and adopt the proposed 2021-2022 PHW operating budget and the proposed fixed and variable water rate components. May I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Chair Rollins has the second. I can't hear you, Chair.
Member Perez might have had a second. It's just her mic was muted. So if I was to read her lips.
Oh, still muted.
Can't hear her. Can't hear you.
Your mic is still muted.
We can see that you're unmuted, but your voice isn't coming through. I don't know why.
No, it should.
Yeah, you're unmuted, but your voice isn't coming through.
You must have laryngitis.
Maybe try your volume button, see if there's an issue there. In any case, I think I made the motion, and then Member Rollins made the second. So
there we go. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this item, please?
Okay, Vice Chair Hernandez.
Yes.
Member Rollins.
Yes.
Member Bouchard.
Yes.
Member Perez.
No.
No. Yes. We can see. Yes. And Chair Dudley.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 7 is the renewal and reconsideration of remote meetings pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, subsection E. I believe the city attorney will be presenting on this item.
I will indeed. Thank you, Chair Debley and honorable board members. This should be, I feel like I say this should be old hat to you by now at every single meeting, but nevertheless, AB 361 were the recent changes to the California Brown Act that allow members of a legislative body to meet remotely via an online platform without complying with the teleconferencing requirements of the Brown Act that predated the COVID-19 crisis. It's important to remember that on March 4th, 2020, Governor Newsom declared a state of emergency, and that on most recently is September 21st, 2021, the Ventura County Public Health Officer issued a memorandum, in essence, recommending social distancing, though not requiring it, and that memorandum has not been rescinded. AB 361, or more specifically, Government Code Section 54953, subdivision E3, requires that a legislative body every 30 days meet to discuss, one, whether a state of emergency continues to exist. And as I said, the governor has not rescinded the state of emergency, and whether or not that state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of the members to meet safely in person, or state or local officials continue to impose or recommend social distancing measures. As I stated before, this proclamation of emergency continues to exist, and the Ventura County Public Health Officer has not rescinded his guidance on social distancing. Of particular note, the City Council, which had returned to in-person meetings, has gone back into remote meetings as of June 6, 2022. This was done in response to increased infections throughout the county, beginning around end of April and through May, which resulted in a significant cross-section of city staff becoming ill and departments being burdened by members who had tested positive for COVID-19. So the decision was made to reintroduce the mask mandate, recommend social distancing throughout the city, and to go to remote meetings. My understanding currently is that the city no longer requires masks to be present inside, and the social distancing measures have been listed. Notwithstanding, what we have not seen are the daily high positive cases in Ventura County drop to numbers different than what caused the return to remote meetings in the first place. So as of, on May 27th through, or 23rd through 27, we saw daily positive cases elevated to 327, 305, 300, 231, and 114 respectively. One of the things that we're seeing based on more current data is that if we go to June 8th, we still have 329 daily cases. That number begins to drop to 258 on June 9th, 229 on June 10th, and June 12th is the last data I have, and total daily cases are 19. However, I don't know if that is accurately reported at this time. So with that, I would leave it to the board members and recommend an additional 30 days of social distancing to at least coincide with the city potentially returning to in-person meetings. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Sir, Rollins?
Yeah, what is the magic number that it needs to reduce to all of a sudden open up meetings, or that is recommended? I mean, I know like the cases seem to be going up or staying high, but my personal observation is that most of them are very, very, well, not most of them, a lot of them are quite minor as far as like, flu symptoms or cold systems, and people seem to be recovering. So is there a magic number that it has to go down? Because I sense that this will be going on for a long time.
Member Rollins, there is no magic number that we need to hit, and there is no guidance really on the state with respect to this matter. The main reason why I recommend social distancing remain in place or remote meetings remain in place, at least for PHWA, is one, we're authorized by law in order to do so, and two, imposing it for another 30 days puts us back on par with what the city is doing, and their meeting is expected to either go back. The question will be before the city council on the first meeting of July. So city council may very well choose to go back to in-person meetings for the second meeting of July, and requiring PHWA to appear in person at the first meeting of July. Or I guess it really wouldn't matter, but it won't matter because the next PHWA meeting would be the 2nd of July, wouldn't it? So if that's the case, we could continue, we could defer this matter until the middle of July. But the thing is, we don't know what the city council is doing. And I also wanted to, the issue with a magic number is not so much that there's a magic number where this is safe. There are still protocols in place for areas or for agencies like the city. So for example, if somebody has a positive test or if somebody comes into contact with somebody with COVID-19, that person is still potentially out of employment for 3 days. And so with a small organization like the city and Public Works and PHWA and whatnot, it becomes significantly burdensome if you have half of a department having to stay home to await a negative COVID-19 test. It has very little to do with the severity of the illness and more with the fact that you end up in a city as small as ours, you end up with a significant population of staff staying home, regardless of whether or not they have actual symptoms. And that's what the driving force was for the city to go into AB 361 remote meetings. My advice would be to continue remote meetings and coincide with the city's return to in-person. That way everything matches up and we don't have duplicative or sort of consistent outcomes.
No, I mean, I understand the consistency. It's just, and I serve on a whole bunch of different agencies, and as I've made observations, some councils are meeting in public, some agencies like transportation, they're all meeting in person now. And I know there's a bunch of different events that we're all participating in that we're all fairly close at hand. So I just wanted to know what the trigger factor is when we finally go back.
There is no objective magic number.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Member Hernandez, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I had taken it down because I was just prepared to make a motion, but I just wanted to note that our city attorney or the attorney for the water agency makes a very good point regarding the depth of our city staffing. While other cities are still able to meet, they have a level of resources that we don't. And I think it's something that we have to keep in mind. We had a situation, I believe, where department was heavily impacted. Staff was had to go home and it shut down the department pretty much because of the infection that occurred. So I just have to, I think we need to be mindful of the limited resources that we have here in Fort Hueneme. And I'm prepared to make a motion if necessary or when called for.
Great, thank you. Member Perez, you had a question or comment? Oh.
So Mr. Spalding, you can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
He's shaking his head no. I was like, wait. Mr. Spalding, I didn't realize that the city was now no longer mandated for masks. So that was the reason why that I had voted previously, is because I did not want to sit in a 4-hour meeting at the council chambers wearing a mask. So that has been removed?
It is my understanding, I will confirm that with you later. I have not been to the city since the mask mandate went into effect. So I was informed that. I'm not sure if it has been reinstated since that time.
I'll go ahead and jump in just to answer the question. That is correct. The mask mandate and certain social distancing protocols that had been temporarily put in place have been rescinded.
So I really don't have a necessary preference either way. That was the reason why I voted to go Zoom, because I did not want to sit in a council meeting for 4 hours with a mask, but I'm happy to go along with whatever the majority is. So, and I expect that will come up at our next meeting, not this meeting, correct, Mr. Spalding, for the city? It doesn't
that's
come
correct.
Up
The next time AB 361 will be discussed with the city council will be the first meeting in July.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Member Bouchard?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and just make a motion and tell you why. I'll move to approve staff's recommendation as it makes some sense to me. The biggest piece, city staffing and those things, I think are just a challenge we're all going to have. But it makes a lot of sense to me at this point for us to at least have the option to meet in this forum. If the city maintains remote meetings for them, I would hate to have council and everybody else show up for a PHWA meeting in person and remotely for the city. So while I'm absolutely in favor of returning when we can, and it makes organizational sense for us all to in-person meetings, but at this point I'll support, make a motion to support staff's recommendation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Member Hernandez, your hand is up. Do you have another
Yeah, my
comment?
hand went back up because
Okay.
I just wanted to thank Member Burchard for looking out for us and understanding the logistical support it takes to run our meetings and the impact it has on staff. So thank you for that. And also, I just wanted to note that according to the agenda, our next water agency meeting is July 18th.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we have a motion by Member Bouchard. Do we have a second?
I think Member Perez seconded.
Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please take a roll call vote?
Member Bouchard,
Yes.
Member Perez,
Yes.
Member Rowland,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
and Chair Dudley.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Great, thank you. At this time, it's board members' reports, comments, and requests for future agenda items. I'd like to remind the board that all requested items will require a motion, a second, and a majority vote to be placed on the future agenda. Does anyone have any requests for future agenda items? Member Bouchard?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think, I don't know that we've done it in a formal request. I feel like I've had the discussion a few times. The tank inspection report just reminds me of the fact that we have, a CIP plan that was adopted some time ago. At that time, I requested that we have opportunity for us to, as an agency, have some sort of long-term discussion, whether that be related to water quality, reinvestment into the plant with essentially, if I'm not mistaken, another 10 years on the lease agreement, that we kind of bring all that together. And I would request, if it requires a motion, that we formally ask staff to prepare for us to have that kind of a long-term strategy discussion for us. It comes from a place of, where are we going to be in the long term, and how much investment, capital improvement do we put into the facility? Is it more major maintenance issues? We have United's new iron and manganese facility will be coming online in the next couple of years, be impacting water quality. A whole lot of moving parts that I'd really like for us to have a policy related discussion about. If there's support for a long-term strategy or planning workshop at the PHWA, that would be my request for a future agenda item.
Member
I'll second
Bouchard?
that.
Thank you, Member Hernandez. Just a quick question. Do you think it would be appropriate to have that long-range plan or planning meeting or discussion when we're doing our budget hearings, maybe when we do FY 22, 2023, that gets incorporated into part of our budget narratives, or should this be something standalone, or how do you see this?
I certainly don't want to place requirements on staff to be able to pull it together sooner than later, but I think it's definitely guiding information prior to them putting together a budget, right? If we're putting significant CIP budgeting together. So I think the sooner we can have the discussion, the more financially and fiscally prudent we will all be in helping guide that policy for staff and letting them know. So, you know, I would encourage us to have it as soon as we can and not delay another year for sure. Great. Would you please summarize your motion and we can ask for a second by Member Hernandez again. My motion would be to place a long-term strategy meeting on the agenda that includes the adopted capital improvement program for board review and a discussion regarding Port Hueneme Water Agency future water quality objectives. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you take a roll on this item?
Sharp?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez?
Yes.
Member Perez?
Yes.
Member Rollins?
Yes.
And Chair Dudley?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Member Hernandez, you also have your hand up?
Yes, I had my hand up because I wanted to welcome Georgiana Alvarez as our clerk. I believe this is as our new clerk to the agency. I believe this is your first meeting, Georgiana. I'm not sure, but I just want to acknowledge you and thank you and look forward to working with you.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Georgiana, for your assistance with tonight's meeting. I truly appreciate it. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I just have one comment or request, and it goes hand in hand with Jared's request for the document related to the tank and so on. But is it possible that these documents can be posted on the website in the interest of transparency? Some of these, just evaluation, studies, etc. Maybe we can create a tab on the website. Since some of the files are quite large, it would be nice to be able to just go to the website and click on the document and be able to view it there. So I would support that. I was hopeful maybe the staff may tell us if that's doable or not. I don't want to, if it's not doable, support the request.
I'm wondering if I could jump in here. I'm wondering if there's any security issues. I know these are public documents. It just came to mind. I'm not sure if there would be.
In lieu of any staff comment here, I don't believe there'd be any public records issues with respect to these documents, and I'm sure staff could find a way to post them online. Great, thank you. Are there any other comments from the board members tonight?
There is not, but just that we need to go. We have a closed session.
There you go. All right, well then, let's see. Time is now 5:04 p.m. and I would like to adjourn this meeting. As indicated, the next regular scheduled meeting is Monday, July 18th at 4 p.m.
Thank you, staff, for your reports, and see you all next time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.